The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys! This is Media Mash,
A roundtable of Cowboys insiders
dropping wisdom
and offering sizzling takes
on the current state of your Dallas Cowboys.
Now, your host,
Newy Scruggs.
Yes, sir. Media Mash is back. Ed Werder is back. Nick Harris is back. I'm Newy Scruggs. Excited to see these two guys as we talk about the Dallas Cowboys and all things with the National Football League. But first, how was vacation?
Vacation?
A little bit of time off?
I went on a couple golf trips.
There you go.
Had a nice time. Played the Robert Trent Jones Trail, 4 courses there. And then over the weekend, went to Florida, Ponte Vedra, Florida, and played in Tom Coughlin's charity golf tournament to raise money for families who have a child, who's struggling with a cancer battle.
He's been doing that for years, right?
This was the 30th one.
Wow. Yeah,
and the auction and the golf raised almost $1 million, a record $975,000. Get to play the TPC Sawgrass course in the famous number 17 hole.
Did you make the green?
I'm on a 3-year run of missing the green. I made it my first 5 years in a row, hitting the pin once.
That's awesome.
But my last 3 have drowned in the most horrific of ways imaginable.
Yeah. What kind of golfer are you?
I'm an 11 handicap.
I don't even know what that means.
Single-digit handicap is maybe 10% of the population.
Okay. So you're not going to.
I'm getting close. I've been there before.
Okay.
Every now and then, Ed will take your money.
Then they kick me out.
If Ed's in a good day, he'll take your money.
If it's a team game, I like it even better. I like my odds even better.
Yeah.
Where's been your ultimate golf experience for you?
I would have to say getting to play Pebble Beach for the first time. I've been to Pinehurst. I did a golf trip to Pinehurst. Did Bandon Dunes. That was fantastic. One of my favorite golf stories is playing over at Glen Eagles at the invitation of Troy Aikman for the first time. I was kind of new to golf, and he was writing all these numbers down on the scorecard. It was a big gambling thing. It's like 5 games going at once. And he said, "Do you want to play?" And I'm like, "Well, I guess I'll play." And he said, "Well, you seem a little apprehensive." He said, "Let me put it to you this way. If you play really bad and I play really good, you could lose $300. I'm like, "Well, I'm a sports writer. I really don't want to lose $300 on a single day. But okay, what am I going to do?" End of the day, your intrepid reporter went to the ATM for $378. That's how well he played and how poorly I played. And I was the most fortunate member of the force of everybody else paid that in multiples.
That's fun.
But that was long ago.
Yes.
That's a good one. If you ran that back today, you get that money back.
I'd lose half that amount. Half that amount. So Nick, you were gone. Needed vacation for yourself.
Thank you. Yeah, I was in Miami for 4 or 5 days. It was my girl's birthday, so got some friends together, went down there, had a good time.
All right, good on you. Chris Beam and I were here.
You been to Miami recently?
I have not.
You going this weekend?
No, sir.
You laid it up to me. I just had to.
No, sir. Won't catch me in Florida. No? The only way you'll catch me in Florida could be in 2 weeks if the Stars happen to be in the Stanley Cup final against the defending Stanley Cup champions. Yep. So
that the Panthers or the Lightning?
Panthers, sir.
Okay.
Panthers. Lightning are already put. They're already out. So Panthers there.
Go Stars.
Yes, tonight.
Yep.
So we get done with this podcast. We head down there for Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. They get ready to take on the Edmonton Oilers. So NFL meetings are going to play. So hey, guess what? The tush push, the bone. Hey, they're going to keep it.
Yep.
The Eagles, the reigning Super Bowl champions, get to keep their play. Thoughts?
Yeah, the vote was apparently going to be coming down to the wire. You had heard about it all day, and then the vote came in 2 votes short. Thoughts? Personally, I think it's fine in the game. Personally, if it's a play that the Eagles specialize in, other teams have tried to replicate but cannot truly duplicate. And they have great success with it. But until other teams are having the success rate that the Eagles are having in this play, you're not going to see criticism from me. I think it is a football play. I kind of like the rugby roots that it pulls from. I think it's fine. And if you don't like it, stop it. That's my idea on it.
I get that, and a lot of the coaches have said that.
Mm-hmm.
However, I don't really think it is a traditional football play, and I actually like the rules previously when they didn't allow pushing, pulling, the pile. I mean, remember the play in Buffalo 2 years ago where they get the Cowboys basically stop the running play, and then they get shoved at 20 yards down the field by a huge, pile of men. That just didn't seem like a foot. Like they stopped the play, and I'm not saying that just because it was a Cowboys by any means. I just don't like the play, but there's no basis to ban it because of injury, because there's no injury data that suggests it's an exceptionally dangerous play. But the Eagles are the best in the league at it by far. Buffalo's, I guess, a close second. I think they've run 263 tush push brotherly. I like the brotherly shove as a name better, quite honestly, better. Seems more manly to me. But yeah, I guess what they got somehow. Usually, when the commissioner wants something out of the game, and he clearly made it obvious he wanted this out of the game. And that's why they postponed the vote until now rather than doing it at the March meetings, was to create support for that. And they failed to pull it off. That doesn't happen very often. But Jeffrey Lurie made an address. He brought in Jason Kelsey from ESPN, the former center, to explain to everybody that's not the reason he retired. It was because he got injured on that play. But yeah, it's something the Cowboys are going to have to stop. They voted against it, obviously, so I'm sure that will come up in Philadelphia on opening night. I'm sure the fans will go. It'll be an electric environment the first time they're in the tush push against the Cowboys.
It was kind of put into perspective of the QB spike. And what was this, probably 15, 20 years ago when this was brought to the table? Is like, hey, is this an allowable play? And I think Jerry Jones was one of the big proponents against the QB spike being, it's not a football play. Like there's no chance of anything happening on the play. It's going to be an incomplete pass unless the snap is wrong or unless the QB fumbles it out of his hand. Like you have a certain destination of where this play is going. Whereas a tush push, I feel like there's a little bit more room for ambiguity. And you've even seen teams like the Commanders like pull off a reverse sweep off the tush push and things like that. So that's why I see it more as a football play, I guess, when it's put into comparison of the QB spike and trying to put it in that same kind of realm. I don't think it's in that same kind of realm. I think there are some football elements to it. If it were me and I was voting, I'd be voting for it for that exact reason. But you mentioned the Bills. They were one of the ones that voted against it, which was fascinating. I found that fascinating today.
Because they benefited so much from it.
No, they voted against.
No, I'm saying, and it's odd that they would do that.
Exactly.
They benefited from it with Josh Allen. But I think an interesting stat I read related to this was there were 11 times last year where Saquon Barkley was tackled at the 1 yard line and did not score during that particular possession. Guess how many 1 yard rushing touchdowns Jalen Hurts had?
11.
11.
That's funny.
So
fantasy,
but it just kind of terrifying. I think it's part of their whole ethos about going for it on fourth down. Mm-hmm. They're so convinced they're going to succeed if it comes down to it with that play, that I think it would have been a significant loss, even though it's not a play and the overwhelming number of plays run in the NFL. I guess 0.28% are brotherly shove type plays, quarterback assisted sneaks. But I think it could have harmed the Eagles if they didn't have this in their repertoire. I think if you look back at it, the teams that went for it the most on fourth downs last year were the Eagles, Washington, and Buffalo, and Kansas City was in the top 5 or 6, and all of those teams wound up being Final Four teams. So that's just a big part of the game right now, is your willingness to go for it on fourth down. Yep.
So let me ask this question here. Now that the Cowboys have used a first-round pick on Tyler Booker, so pencil him over at right guard, center BB, and then you got Smith over there on the other side, Tyler Smith. Could this be a play they decide to maybe implement with those three big horses?
With a 32-year-old quarterback?
That would be my only question.
Coming off a major leg injury. Imagine if he got hurt in that situation. Like the Chiefs did it, almost never ran quarterback sneak. They ran quarterback sneak against Denver and in a Monday night game or a Sunday night game, and Mahomes got hurt, remember? And they've not run it since. Like, I think you're putting your quarterback at unnecessary risk.
So could you bring in Joe Milton to run that play?
Yeah, now we're talking. Now we're having a little fun. Or do you just put Hunter Lipke behind center and let him roll?
The fumble aspect scares me.
It was one time. That's
all you need. Sometimes all you need is one time. But I mean, literally, so you know when the tush push is coming. If you brought in Joe Milton, here it comes.
Yeah.
I mean, just from that standpoint alone. But those three big boys together, to me, that's intriguing. That is intriguing.
The reason I'm kind of surprised that it didn't get banned, and there was obviously a lot of resistance to it, was what happened in the NFC Championship game, right? With Frankie Louvu jumping over the top in advance of the whistle. Like, that's dangerous. When a guy's jumping over the top and hitting opponents and they're not ready for it because the ball hasn't been snapped, that makes it a dangerous play, even though, like I said, the data is not there to support, pulling it from the field because it's an injury risk. But I mean, that made a farce of the whole game. And I really didn't blame Washington for it. The only way to stop it is to time it up exactly right. And that's all they were trying to do. But it was a farcical sequence of plays, I thought, on the goal line in a big championship game.
I've never heard an official say it. A touchdown will be rewarded if.
We're going to give them the touchdown if you guys keep jumping over the top before the ball snapped.
It is. It's interesting. So if Philadelphia does it, if Philadelphia keeps on having success with it, it just seems that more teams would try to figure out how do we do that. Dak Prescott spoke to the media yesterday. Says he's feeling good. How do we couch that, knowing there's no live contact, you can't touch the quarterback right now? How do we gauge Dak Prescott as he comes back from this hamstring injury?
Yeah, I don't think you really do until you see him with a healthy amount of games played under his belt, right? I think you could look up midseason and probably have a pretty good indication of how he's feeling health-wise and where his mobility is and how that's being used going into back half of his career, no doubt, potentially the last 4 years of his career. But you see him yesterday, and I think there may have been some intention on his part to escape the pocket a couple of times during some OTA snaps yesterday. There was one where he did not have to escape the pocket. It's an OTA. You don't have to escape anything. And he's rolling to his left, and he just kind of fires one in. And it's like, we know what you're doing here. You're trying to show that these legs are still here. And, they might be. He's been doing a lot of work up at Salina High School with all the pass catchers during this time off away from the facility. And he says he's feeling great, moving great. That's not something we can really quantify, though, I think, until probably midway through the season.
Yeah, I think his movement and escaping the pocket needs to be an essential part of his game still. The question is, breaking the line of scrimmage and running for yardage and being counted on to do those sorts of things. What did McCarthy tell us? If you get 30 yards rushing out of your quarterback, you're probably going to win the game. I don't think the Cowboys can go into games expecting Dak to make a significant contribution to the running game, but I think the important thing is he's healthy enough at this point to be out there and to be leading the group and developing a chemistry with, Pickens and, some of the other Jaden Blue and all those other guys who were new to the system. It's beneficial for them to get snaps with the starting quarterback.
Making the first guy miss was something Joe Montana did very well in that Bill Walsh system. And Walsh had talked about with his quarterback system, what we have. If a quarterback has the mobility to make the first guy miss, we can do some things here. And that's going to be one of the things that I'm looking for Dak Prescott is just, can he do that? And if he can do that, then I like their opportunity to be in football games. I still think they got a lot of holes in different places, but to at least have your quarterback be in football games. And the one thing, if you're a Cowboy fan, a healthy Dak Prescott,
it's everything.
Right. In his career means you have an opportunity at the playoffs. You're in the mix. You're in the mix. And that's what you need.
If you look at the numbers with him, without him, they're a 500 team. When he's not in there, he's the most dominant player in the NFC East throughout his career in the NFL, 10 years. He's 33-8 against the division. The division obviously has gotten better now. But he obviously has had a lot of success against these teams that you have to play twice a year and you have to beat to win the division and have home playoff games. And they just don't score nearly enough points when Dak Prescott's not in the lineup. They have to play a whole different style. I don't think it's too much to expect coming off this injury at 32 for him to be able to make the first guy miss, for them to even design plays to move the pocket around or get him out on the edge of the defense. I just don't think you necessarily should be counting on him for rushing yardage at this point.
You just look at the McCarthy tenure, the 5 years that he was here, the 2 years they didn't make the playoffs, both of them season-ending injuries with Dak to his lower body. So the health overall in this team is going to have a lot of storylines going into the year, but none bigger than Dak Prescott.
It's quarterback league. And the schedule is not easy at all, in my opinion. I know it changes year to year, but right now, just looking at it based off last year's returns, this is a challenging schedule. When we come back, Nick and Ed were gone last week. I'll give them my prediction of the schedule and also just games. And there's a couple instances I had to look at the back-to-backs for the Cowboys. I said, man.
Your prediction was so dire. I'm surprised to find you still here.
You know what, man? As long as you handle it with tenderness, that's it. Some media people don't handle things.
He stays off Twitter.
Justification, back it up with a few sensible facts.
As you'll hear next.
Okay, good.
Coming up right here
I'm
on the
looking
media.
forward to it.
Sponsored by nobody.
I'll stay around.
How do you tell the world about all the great gifts in the Yeti store? Let her rip, Troy.
All right, folks, let's get started with the Yeti French Press. Enjoy coffee that stays hot for hours in a French press. 34 ounce for you, 6'4" for the cruise. The Yeti French Press. Hot mix waterproof bags. Bags waterproof. Submersible waterproof doubles. Waterproof bags. World's mostly water, so get a waterproof Yeti bag. Do I smell something cooking? Oh, new cast iron skillets made to be passed down like Mama's recipes. Take your steak, cornbread, cobbers, pot pie, and potatoes, and next level with 3 sizes of Yeti cast iron skillets.
Gear, gifts, and product experts. Visit the Yeti store on McKinney Street and at South Lake Town Square today.
How's Wingstop sound? Crispy, juicy classic wings, sauced and tossed in those 11 soul-satisfying flavors. Paired with hand-cut seasoned fries, house-made honey mustard, blue cheese, or signature Wingstop ranch. I think you've heard enough. Get your flavor delivered at wingstop.com.
This is Nate Newton from Hanging with the Boys, and Wingstop is here to bring the flavor to game day as the official wings of the Dallas Cowboys. Order now by downloading the Wingstop app or ordering online at wingstop.com.
Hey, Cowboys fans, a 2024 football season is here, and SeatGeek is here to help you experience all the action. SeatGeek makes it easy to find tickets so you can be a part of all the touchdown celebrations this season. Whether you're buying or selling tickets to Cowboys football games or to any other live event, SeatGeek is the place to do it. SeatGeek is the official primary ticketing partner of the Dallas Cowboys. The most disruptive idea in ticketing? A ticket that works. Expect the expected. SeatGeek.
How about them Cowboys? Or how about them Tyson Cowboys Nuggets? As we cheer for the stars on the field, we love that we've also got some stars on our plate, thanks to Tyson brand star-shaped Cowboys Nuggets. They sure make game day special, and for every purchase of the new Tyson Cowboys Nuggets this holiday season, Tyson Foods will donate $1 to the Salvation Army up to $100,000. As you enjoy your stars on and off the plate, remember, tailgates and game day have always been Tyson.
Back to Media Mash.
Media Mash still sponsored by no one. Ed, I think if you can try to find us a golf sponsor, maybe you can get a couple of rounds or something. I don't know.
The Dallas Cowboys Golf Club? We were just talking about how great the wings are. It's a beautiful course.
No, right now they're not sponsoring us, Ed, but maybe.
Well, the last guy who said he was going to get us a sponsor is this empty chair over here right now.
He's working on that.
That's why he's not here?
I don't know. Chris Beam, see what you can do for it, man. Maybe Black Rifle Coffee can throw us a bone or something. See if we can find somebody to go with the Media Mash. So Ed Werder, the Hall of Famer. We got Nick Harris here at the Footwear Star Telegram. I'm Newy Scruggs. So we did the schedule because you guys were out last week when it came out. I did 7 and a possible for the Cowboys.
7 wins.
7 and a possible. So that last game of the year against the Giants is, who knows where everybody is.
That's your possible?
Yeah, that's my possible.
Okay.
So it could be 8. If not, could be.
So you're assuming you believe they're going to have a losing record no matter what.
Yes, I think the schedule's daunting. 4 Thursday games here. I'll just look at the back half of the schedule here. Okay, man, you start looking at November. Okay, November 23rd. It's a home game against the Eagles. Then you got to get ready for the Thanksgiving Day game. Now it's at home too, but you go from facing the Eagles to the Kansas City Chiefs, the 2 Super Bowl teams.
4 days.
Man, that's
5
tough.
days.
And then
that's tough. Then you're off for a little bit, but you got to go to Detroit.
And then
you don't even get the mini bye there. That's a full week.
Mm-hmm.
You're practicing on Sunday.
Yeah. So that's your fourth. That's your third Thursday game. So you got that. So you add Detroit. Then you get 10 days off. You got Minnesota. Right now it's scheduled for NBC, but we'll see where both teams are. But then here you go. Come home on December 21st, and you get the Chargers. That's going to be a physical game with Jim Harbaugh. That's going to be a physical football game, and then you turn around and have to go from the Charger game up to Washington for a Christmas game, which means you're leaving Christmas Eve. Chargers, Commanders, man, that's some physical stuff. Ed, that's going to cost you.
It's spam. I can't stop spam. Nobody can stop spam.
We hear it, Ed. That's a fine. Dave Campo fine. So then Christmas Day against the Commanders on Netflix, by the way. That's tough. I mean, the back-to-backs right there. I mean, just 3 points. Eagles, Chiefs, Lions. Man, that's some physicality.
You know what? Those are the only 4 teams last year that won 14 or more games, and the Cowboys have to play them in succession. That's never happened before in NFL history that a team's been required to do that.
They do it in 11 days.
That's tough. When I look at that, I'm like, guys, that is tough. Then October, okay, you get Washington here. Then you go to Denver. Ed, you lived up there.
Bo Nick, Sean Payton.
Yeah, Bo Nick.
80,000 people.
It's the altitude. It's not easy. Then after the Bronco game, you come home, and then here's Kyler Murray. And I know Cowboy fan naturally just always likes to think, it's the Cardinals. And they've beaten the Cardinals since 2017. And I don't know if Kyler Murray's ever lost up there at Jerry World, man.
I think he's 8-0.
Yeah, like the guy.
Only Dak and Tony Romo have won more games playing quarterback at that stadium than Kyler Murray.
So from high school to college to the pros, that dude's a witch in that building. And so I'm just like, okay.
I've seen it.
Right. Like, these are 3 tough football games here. I just think the schedule's so hard based off last year's teams. Now, we know every year we're going to see 5 to 6 teams make the playoffs who didn't.
It's been 4 new teams making the playoffs every year, each of the last 35 years.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So 7-10 to the playoffs is not inconceivable especially when you play in a division where there hasn't been a repeat champion in 20 plus years.
20 plus years. And so I still have some question marks right now about.
And you don't know who's going to get hurt.
Yeah, the ability to stop the run for the Cowboys. I'm still worried about that.
I agree.
I'm still worried about their ability to stop the run. And you look at, I'm big on coaching. I think coaching matters. And you look at the coaches on the schedule here. You start off the season at Philadelphia, okay?
Sirianni just got extended.
Super Bowl winner, okay? You got a Super Bowl winner.
One of the best 6 records, winning percentages in NFL history.
Yeah, so you got him. Dan Quinn's on here. He's been to a Super Bowl. Sean Payton is a Super Bowl champion. He's up here. Pete Carroll is back in the game now. It's Vegas on a Monday night.
Reed.
So you got him. Then you got Andy Reid coming here. Dan Campbell, I believe, is an elite head coach. I think KOC in Minnesota has done a fantastic job of coaching. We know Jim Harbaugh's great. He's been to a Super Bowl. I mean, this is a challenge here, man. This is a challenge, and Vegas is usually pretty good. I mean, they got all those buildings out in Vegas for a reason. They I think they've got the Cowboys like 7.5.
They do have this early sequence after they play the Eagles, and they have extra time that they play the Giants, Bears, then the Packers, Jets, Panthers. Like, there's 4 wins in there, you would think.
Packers?
No.
Oh.
Giants, Bears, Jets, Panthers.
I'll say this. The Carolina game worries me.
That's the one road game every year where everyone walks in. It's the Arizona game from a couple of years ago. It's like, how the hell did they lose this game? That is, I'll give you that.
Well, that one year with the Jets, Jason Garrett goes up there and I'm like, how is this the CBS game of the week with Nance and Romo, and the Jets were terrible and they won the game, and that was when they went without the 2 tackles. I think Tyron was out and then when Collins was out. And So there's the Cowboys going to give you one like, ooh, brother, what was that?
Every year.
It could be Charlotte. It could be the Jets.
I wonder who Jerry will be putting in the Ring of Honor when they play at Charlotte this year.
That's funny.
That's dirty work.
I learned it from somebody.
It's dirty work, Ed. And it's a noon game, too, out there in
all
Charlotte.
set up.
This is the Mingo Revenge Game Part 2.
Right.
He didn't do so well in Part 1. So, anyway, that was me. That 7 and a possible. My possible is that last game of the year at the Giants, because you're going to come off your Christmas Day game, and who knows where either team is.
How about a note on each of the other teams in the division regarding their schedules?
Yes, sir.
The Eagles have to play 11 games against teams that made the playoffs last year. The only other time this century a team's had to play 11 games against former playoff teams in a single season was the 2023 Eagles. The Commanders have the most games against opponents coming off a bye week.
Oof.
And the Giants have the most difficult schedule in the league based on opponent winning percentage the previous year.
Wow. Wow.
And then we mentioned the Cowboys being the first team to play 4 Thursday night games and play 4 games against 14-win teams, and they're all back to back to back to back.
You're telling me 10-7 wins this division?
You think about it, going against the AFC West and the NFC North, based off last year's results. This is hard.
This is tough.
And look, we know there'll be a regression to the mean, especially for a team like Minnesota who's lost its quarterback and what they're going to have to face in that division. But it's just hard. It is a hard schedule.
And it's a franchise that recently has been known for not beating good opponents, right? They win their games against the softer teams in the league.
Yeah.
So they've got a lot to prove this year.
And I'm very interested to see what do the Commanders do under Dan Quinn year 2. Because there's so much going right there. Their fans are excited. You know, they're going to do rebuild.
New stadium.
Yeah, rebuild RFK here.
I can't wait for that, by the way.
All of us are very excited to not get rained on, and you know, the food will be a little bit better. Everything. I mean, FedEx is awful. It is one of the awful places.
But they do have Jaden Daniels, who should be better. Now, C.J. Stroud had a record rookie season, and he was not necessarily better last year. But they did still make the playoffs.
Comedian Donnell Rawlings, otherwise known as Ashy Larry, from the Chappelle Show, he was here last week. He's a huge Commanders fan. Huge. We're going Super Bowl. I'm like, I was looking at him. I started smiling. He's like, you smiling? You're a hater. You're a hater. I was like, yeah, man, you guys got excited about a quarterback before. Remember RG3? Remember that? Remember that? Hoping changes. Everybody was all happy. How'd that go? I was like, man, let me see it. Can I see a little bit more? I was like, let me see a little bit more. Because you're not sneaking up on anybody. And now people know. They're going to look at you and just say, okay, hey, this is a formidable team. Went to the NFC Championship game. The people are looking at anybody's a good coordinator, spending a whole lot of time. How do we figure out Jaden Daniels and make things a little bit tough on him? I think he's a fantastic player. I love with Dan Quinn but you know, can you do it again in this league with the schedule and everybody knowing that you're coming here? All right, what do you do?
Adding Tunsil at left tackle, adding Deebo Samuel, adding Connerly at right tackle.
The thing about those two veteran additions is those could be great additions. They could be awful additions. And it's especially this time of year when we look at this bad boy, is like, is this team better than they were a year ago? And when you look at the Commanders on paper, yeah, they have Laramie Tunsil. Yeah, they have Deebo Samuel. But Laramie Tunsil was right up there with Tyler Guyton last year with penalties around the NFL. Deebo Samuel hasn't had a healthy year since I was like 3 years old. It's been it's going to be interesting to see how they juggle their new pieces and how they come together in Washington. But talking about it from the Cowboys' perspective, they went 7-10 last year. And I know it's a tougher schedule than they had last year, but Newy, are you saying that they are the same team by saying that they would be 7-10?
One of my biggest things is, one, there's until you stop the run and you look at some of these teams here, I'm worried.
That's fair.
I'm worried. Two, we don't know what Brian.
And they could be a better team with a tougher schedule, right?
Yeah, we don't know what Brian Schottenheimer's going to do yet. We don't know what it's going to be. I personally think you've got to figure out how to. And he says he wants to run the ball, but here's your test. All right, game one. What do you do if you're down, 10-0?
Yep.
Do you go back to just chucking, or are you gonna, you gonna stay with this? I'm very interested to see what do they do. As much as I'm very interested to see with the Detroit Lions, how good are you going to be, having lost both coordinators? Where do you go? So these are things we've got to see, and until I see it, I'm going to lean on Las Vegas.
They generally get it right.
They do.
I mean, like I said, they're building all these beautiful hotels and for Reese. Not many people are beating those folks out there. So they're saying 7.5, and I just think there's a question mark. I mean, the defensive backfield is still a question.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about the quarterbacks that you're facing and some of the receivers that are on this schedule. And we're still trying to figure out who are going to be your, when they go to Philadelphia right now, who can start 3 corners?
Yeah. There's no telling.
Yeah. So that for me, that's a concern.
They have those guys on the roster, but are they going to be healthy?
Yeah.
Available.
And at what point will they be healthy? And one of them's going to be a rookie.
And then 100%. Like, is there going to be rust that they're going to have to kick off?
Right.
There's a lot.
You're not, question mark about stopping the run. What's your cornerback situation looking like here? And even just the linebackers. What's going on here? By the way, does number 11 have a deal?
Yep.
So these are until I know, I'm going to look at Las Vegas and say, okay, I'm going to go with you guys. The running back situation, are they going to add? Are they going to stay with obviously camp is going to tell us more, but right now, May 21st, I'm going to say 7 and a possible.
Yeah. I like the justification. I think with the new pieces that they've added offensively, specifically, if Dak Prescott can stay healthy, I think the floor for this team is 8 wins. The ceiling, I think it's 11-12. It's a tough schedule, don't get me wrong, but when we've seen this offense healthy, when we've seen this offensive line play well, this is a difficult team to score against. Score with. Now, scoring against, that is the problem. And the defensive tackle situation, I just got done talking about it ad nauseum with some other folks. You don't have a reliable one tech on this roster. And even if you do bring in a veteran free agent towards the end of camp or after camp.
Worked so good last year.
Exactly. And it's just a revolving door of these veterans that, kind of are banged up throughout the year and don't work out. They'd have to go trade for one for me to feel confident about the defensive tackle spot.
Let me jump on you right there with defense. Never talk about your third defensive coordinator. 3 years. Mm-hmm. We saw last year, Mike Zimmer with some challenges trying to get guys to do a buy-in in what he wanted to do. So now you got a third defensive coordinator here. How does he utilize a Micah Parsons? How are the DBs? I mean, these are things we're going to have to figure out and find out about. They're
going to have to get a lot out of this rookie class this next season, this first season, if they're going to compete for the division.
And even more, they need to get more out of their 2024 draft class. That overall,
Guyton's got to be a player.
Guyton has to, and Nealon as well. Nealon as well has to step up.
And for me, as much as people keep talking about Guyton, I still say look out for Austin Richards and see exactly what he can do. But that's, once again, you start saying that, that's where I get the 7 and the possible. It's like, I don't know. And until I figure out and I see it, I'm going to say this. Could they change my mind? Could they go to Philadelphia September 4th, knowing that now they got to play him and spend all summer getting ready for this thing and play great? And could Philadelphia come out there and have a hangover from winning this thing? It could happen. We've it rarely does in these games on Thursday night, but it could. I mean, we saw when they went down there to Tampa Bay to take on Tom Brady, everybody did their jobs at the kicker.
And Dak was coming off the injury that year, right?
Yep.
Every scored 29?
29. Lost 31-29. Everybody did their job.
405.
Yeah, he had a magnificent game.
Everybody did the job at the kicker.
I think they do have more dynamic playmakers on offense than they've had in a long time.
I agree.
And I think that makes a difference. And like you said, I think they're going to be hard to score with. And maybe that changes the way everybody plays them. Maybe you can't run against them all as much as you'd like to because you're trying to keep up with them.
And that was mentioned yesterday. I forget who mentioned it. I'll find that in the break. But there was a player that mentioned that yesterday. Is when talking about stopping the run, it was mentioned that this offense is expected to score a lot. So that's another point.
And so we say that at times about this offense, assuming the left tackle position is fixed.
Yeah,
and we should not do that. 77 ain't walking through that door.
He walked out last time I saw.
Exactly. He said goodbye. He walked through the door and said goodbye.
So did 70, who wasn't quite the same last year.
Right. So these are going to be challenges, and until I get it answered, I learned from last year. See, last year I believed the hope. I'm off that hope.
They were coming off 3 12-win seasons. They were a dominant team at home. Why would you not believe in them?
You know why?
Green Bay loss.
No, Ed, because it was our conversations with our buddy Rick Goslin. Had question marks about the trenches in both places, offensive and defensive lines. And I bought into the whole thing with the rookies, and I shouldn't have bought into that on the offensive line and the defensive line. Okay, Mazi's going to be better. No, I was wrong. And so I'm going to be skeptical until I'm proven right. And that's just me.
Especially when it comes to that defensive tackle situation. That's one I don't see how it gets solved.
And, Goslin said another great thing. If you can't block the Eagles, you can't beat them. You got to block them. You have to figure out how to block them. And you got a rookie here who wants some smoke. Okay, let's see what happens. And maybe they can with a new offensive line coach. But just to assume, hey, man, we're going to I can't buy that anymore. It's the great George W. Bush once said, "Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, can't get fooled again." I missed that, man. Good dude. I got to see him at a baseball game sometime too. Ed Werder's coming back here. Nick Harris on Newy Scruggs. This is the Meaty Mash.
Star Sports Tours is the only official fan travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, offering exclusive game weekend travel packages with pre-game sideline access and photo ops with current players, cheerleaders, and Cowboy legends. You want to stay at a team hotel, attend the best tailgate party in Texas, tour the Star, and talk X's and O's with me, Everson Walls. With Star Sports Tours, you can. Visit cowboystravel.com to book your travel package today.
Hey, Cowboy fans, I'm Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. But lately, I've been learning a new game, crypto. Sound confusing? Don't worry, even us pros were rookies in crypto once. That's why I trust blockchain.com. They make crypto easy. No confusing jargon, just the tools to help you win.
Prescott keeps it, slides with a first down.
Invest like your icons, where everyone is a rookie in crypto with blockchain.com.
Perfect throw, my goodness. Wow, did he ever thread the needle?
Visit blockchain.com/Cowboys to get started.
Star Sports Tours is the only official fan travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, offering exclusive game weekend travel packages with pre-game sideline access and photo ops with current players, cheerleaders, and Cowboy legends. You want to stay at a team hotel, attend the best tailgate party in Texas, tour the Star, and talk X's and O's with me, Everson Walls? With Star Sports Tours, you can. Visit cowboystravel.com to book your travel package today.
Cowboys football and Miller Lite. What a pairing. Can cracks at kickoff. Tailgates going way past postgame. Sunday night overtimes followed by Monday morning swagger. Brisket in the smoker. Miller Lite in the cooler. America's team playing America's greatest sport. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys football tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. 2023 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
Back to Media Mash.
Media Mash, the Hall of Famer Ed Werder, currently working over at WFAA TV. We got Nick Harris, who's now over at the Star Telegram and DallasCowboy.com alum. I am Newy Scruggs. All right. Mr. Pickens spoke yesterday. And whoever is working with him in terms of speaking to the media, kudos. He's got it down.
Just go ahead and slide upstairs after this. Pass those respects.
Who specifically are you referencing?
The PR department. Yeah, PR department. Shout out to them.
Tad and Scott.
Shout out to them.
You got him on board?
I have a stat for you. There was
George Pickens?
On George Pickens.
I was hoping it was on Cowboys PR.
It kind of is. It kind of is here. George Pickens was asked 24 questions yesterday. How long do you think the cumulative runtime was of all of his answers?
24 questions?
24 questions.
I was told he gave about 8-word answers each time, so 4.5 minutes?
A minute 6.
2 minutes, 52 seconds.
Wow.
7 seconds per answer.
Hey, man.
The less he says, the better.
Exactly.
You know what? Kudos to him.
Yeah.
In this day and age where, boy, people just, you don't
take everything the wrong way.
You don't have to have an opinion on everything.
I wish more people would take that stance. I really do.
He does.
Yeah. If they did, there might be 4 of us in the studio right now.
JJT's going to be back, guys. He's on assignment.
Oh, okay.
That was really good.
Jock Taylor's on assignment.
That was the best joke we've
there you
made.
go.
That was the
Jock Taylor's on assignment, so he'll be back. But that truly is the key for someone like George Pickens coming into a situation where, okay, you left. There's a lot of things said. He could burn the house down if he wanted to. There's other ways he could go. He's decided, you know what? Let me just take this high road.
Talk about Dallas. Don't talk about Pittsburgh.
There you go.
Talk about the opportunity here, not what went wrong there.
Right. So whoever's working with him, they got it down. He understood the assignment, and he gives nothing.
He'll let it slip eventually. Surely, right? Because he has to feel a type of way.
He is who he is, ultimately.
He has to feel a type of way about the narrative that was pushed out of Pittsburgh on his way out.
Once he has success, he can address it.
And you know what?
Maybe so.
There you go. All right. If you're showing some people wrong, hey, people have some things to say about me.
When he has a 200-yard game with 3 touchdowns, he's going to say Pittsburgh gave up on him for no reason.
Yeah, he's walking into the tunnel. He's like, "Take that, Mike Tomlin." You know, and that's his statement.
I'll say this: when receivers walk out of that door, more times than not, Mike Tomlin's the one who's looking good.
Yeah, that's fact.
The question is going to be, how is he going to react when he's got 2 receptions, 3 targets, and 26 yards?
Yeah,
we shall see. Your old friend Terrell Owens did not take kindly to those types of days. But you think about the guys who've left Pittsburgh: Antonio Brown, Mike Wallace, Santonio Holmes, Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson. None of those guys. There's only been one guy who's left out of there who you would say had some modicum of success. It's Plexico Burress. Caught the game-winning touchdown pass for the Giants when they beat the undefeated New England Patriots. But I said there's two trades you don't want right now: a receiver from Pittsburgh and a quarterback from Andy Reid. If they're calling you offering, I don't know if I take that. Right, I don't know if I want that. I mean,
but the Cowboys put themselves in a position where they had to take this risk, and I think it's a risk worth taking.
Look,
the guy's an incredibly talented. Now he's not going to catch every ball. He's going to drop some balls, but he's going to beat one-on-one coverage, and he's going to catch the ball when he's covered. You don't think he can, and he's going to add a measure of confidence to the offensive side of the ball. I mean, I think the quarterback's very much on board with this acquisition, even though he's going to have to do some babysitting for it to work.
With the exception of Chase Claypool, all those names that you mentioned there on more so on the back half of their career when Pittsburgh has let them go. Now, how much does that equate here with the George Pickens thing being 24 years old? We'll see. But I think if you just take a football aspect of it and you throw out the off the field, he does have his best football in front of him. It is the question of if off the field will get in the way of what he eventually produces on the field. But I'll say that Antonio Brown specifically, that is a wild case to look at his time in Pittsburgh, and then the second he left there, how nuclear it got for Antonio Brown. And that's a credit to the Steelers for keeping that as quiet as they did for that many years. Because, yeah, we saw Antonio Brown as like this hothead, but we didn't see him as a problem. And he became a very big problem very fast.
Look, I mean, he's done Mike Tomlin has done a fantastic coaching job. I mean, people forget what he dealt with Ben Roethlisberger. Ben had issues for a while, too.
Yep.
And so he was able to deal with it, and he is – I don't know if he'll go into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but they will have a conversation about him. And you've been, you know what that building's like because you're
longevity and winning a Super Bowl. I think he's a lock with what he's already done. That being said, they've been a horrible team on offense for the last few years, and they've had no stability at quarterback. George Pickens has a way better chance to succeed and set him up for financial riches beyond this season by being a part of this team. Yeah, and he just has to recognize that and be an adult and be responsible in what he says and does.
And so far,
but what could he do so far other than he could have ripped the Steelers?
And you know what? Yeah, he could have came here flame throwing, making declarations and da-da-da. No, he didn't do any of that, which to me, I just look at, okay, hey, good on him.
And how smart for CeeDee Lamb to say, hey, we're both number ones. I'm not a one and he's a two. We're both ones. We're equals.
$30 million, I'd be fine.
That's pretty magnanimous.
$30 million, hey, I'm fine too. And shoot. I'm sure he was frustrated if he started looking again, like, you know what, man? Can I get just somebody over here? Some little bit of help.
He has to know he's never getting 1,700 yards again, as long as both of them are healthy. He has to know that.
It needs to be about winning for everybody at this point.
For sure.
Those guys have all had all the stats and all the accolades, and they've been on top of the money list. They need to win in the postseason now. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
I would hope you're right, Ed. I would hope everyone thinks that way. But I remembered John Stallworth complaining to Chuck Noll after a game in which he didn't feel like he got the ball. And he said, John, but we won the game. And John looks at Chuck Noll. I'd like to think we could do both. I can't make my catches and win the game. So, Ed, when it comes to receivers, man, and John is a Hall of Famer, and he never caused issues or anything, but even John couldn't be made happy, man. I just don't know. So, I mean,
you only won 4 Super Bowls.
Yeah, you won 4 Super Bowls. If that guy can't get happy on a running team, okay, and yes, they were passing it toward the end in Super Bowl 13 and 14, but if you can't make that dude happy, I don't know, Ed. I just don't know if you can make him happy today, man.
Receivers are different.
They are a different breed. Did you see anything else out there yesterday?
Yeah, there was a few things that caught my eye. It's relative to the position room, so you take it for what it is. Brevin Spanford looked really good. I know that's a random name to throw out there, but I think if you're looking at a tight end 2 battle, I think you might have one coming at training camp. This guy looked great yesterday. He looks like he's added about 10, 15 pounds, added some athleticism, looked strong out there. Luke Schoonmaker, watch out.
Unfortunately, because they're in volunteer mode here.
Yeah.
Just, you can't, can you block? That's to me, that's that big thing.
Yeah.
If he supplants Schoonmaker, he's got to be able to block.
We saw it last year. We saw it for Brevin last year. I mean, it was how he carved a roster spot to begin with and kept it throughout the year. You look at the snap counts last year when Schoonmaker was in the doghouse, it was Brevin Spanford getting those opportunities instead and succeeding with them. So it's always been about the receiving aspect with him is can he provide any sort of element offensively to create some playmaking.
Will it matter? Uh-oh.
Oh, now you're going to get fined.
Yeah, fine. Which phone was that? Come on.
Which phone was that? Did you hear that?
Personal.
My man.
Wow.
My man.
What
about Elam?
They can smell fresh cash.
I actually really liked what Elam did yesterday. He was feisty. He had a couple of PBUs and actually caught some confidence from some other guys in the secondary too. I mean, that's a guy that they are going to need day one when they fly to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. If he's not ready for that game, that could get out of control quickly. But he looked good yesterday. He was one of my standouts.
Because that's a guy in the Buffalo secondary that Mahomes went at in the playoffs.
Yep, and had some success with.
And a little bit of success. Okay, kind of.
And the Bills got rid of him, even though they then went into the draft with cornerback being their biggest position of need. They spent a 1 on this guy, and they get rid of him, and cornerback is their biggest area of need in the draft.
Another area that that caught my eye yesterday, the linebackers look good. This feels like a different linebacker crew than what it was last year. Just from athleticism, they look youthful. It's different from years past. I think this linebacker,
and that's without Overshown.
And that's without Overshown, exactly. And it's deep too. I mean, you have the veterans and you have the veteran and Kenneth Murray. You have the middle of the pack guy and Jack Sanborn, and you have the young guy and Maris Leafau and Shamar James had a pick 6 yesterday. Buddy Johnson, who's kind of a bottom of the roster type guy, had an interception yesterday. And then you'll get Overshown.
Who's throwing all these interceptions?
Joe Milton threw both of them yesterday on back-to-back plays, if I might add. But
he threw it really hard.
He threw it really hard. Yeah, it was really far. Factoring in the linebacker group, you hope that they can get the most out of that group without having to ask them to do more than what they're required because the defensive tackle situation is so bad. Because you saw that last year in the beginning of the season specifically, is these defensive tackles had no idea what the hell was going on, and it affected the linebacker group significantly. And the linebacker group didn't really bounce back, I felt like, until about week 11. And when you can't be 11 weeks into the season until your linebacker group is able to play 100% because of what's happening in front of them. If that linebacker group can play to their strengths and play to what they are responsible for, I think it's going to be a really strong group.
Sweet.
What about the UCLA kid, the defensive tackle, 300?
Yeah, I mean, we'll certainly see about him, and I'm honestly
you can't tell anything until they start tackling.
Exactly.
There you go. Blocking.
I'm higher on him than where his draft position ended up being.
They had him as a 3, I think, on their board.
That would be that's insane. That makes me wonder where some of these undrafted free agents landed. But I think as we get to preseason, we won't really know exactly his full effect, but. I would say Mozzie Smith, watch out there because he's a big body and he's athletic, he's agile. I think he provides a little bit of gap stuffing that Mozzie Smith has not proven to do through the first 2 years.
There's an opportunity.
Certainly.
There's an opportunity for the young man. I saw Tank Lawrence this week. So look good.
How are he and Micah getting along? They doing stuff together?
It was no.
They go to the golf tournament together?
No Micah.
I didn't see him on the stream on the.
He was just going into a restaurant. We were leaving a restaurant and he was going in. So
Wooden Cowboys Club.
No, it was not. We were in downtown Dallas.
So you didn't pay your bill?
No. No. Those days are gone, Ed. Players picking up and doing those days. That's back in.
They never existed for me. Yeah. Whatever that says.
Ed Werder, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Newy Scruggs.
Beam. Joshy back there. We appreciate you watching the Media Mash on DallasCowboys.com.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!